the problem is. All right. Well, all right. So we're doing that. All right. So this may be because we're somewhat time constrained. We're maybe more of a planning session. We'll see where we end up. When we last left our heroes, they were holed up in long pause. A ruins? Was it a ruins in the jungle? Is that where we ended up? Or did we didn't go back to Saw's camp because that was problematic.
Yeah.
I feel like we were just in some random ruins and we had just sort of
We went to random location in the jungle. Yeah, that was the only
right.
rendezvous I think
And
of.
Ghana had kind of sketched out, or actually had her droid, like sort of project. Actually, kind of cool. Project sort of a sketched out 3D hologram of the camp, like on the ground. So it's like a little camp, like down on the jungle floor. At least the buildings and a little bit of talking and that sort of thing. And no, make that building smaller. I don't know, cover that one with trees because I don't know what's in there. That kind of thing. Until the droids managed to kind of sketch in sort of a flickering 3D hologram of this prison camp. And present, we have all of your fine selves, about 20 people, 20 techs. Well, I shouldn't say techs, but 20 people who are technically inclined, who were part of the resistance, who have at least nominally been moved to the rebellion, but who not that long ago reported to Saw, who currently is not,
is a little pissed at us.
He's I'm not sure exactly what the calculus on Saw's revenge math is, because there's a certain point where he can. There's a certain number of stunnings that backup is like within Saw's math in his head is basically allowed to do for the fact that Saw chopped off like 90% chopped off his hand. Even though it was a droid hand, there's a certain number of stunnings that he can kind of go, okay, this sucks, but yeah, okay, I get why you did that. We're cool. We're still basically cool.
After a certain number of stunnings, you don't really do math anymore.
There's also that.
Backup is a very simple calculus for himself. It's like this stunner has a certain energy. The blaster has a certain amount of energy left. You can get it in a lot of little doses, or you can get one big dose.
Yeah. So.
Well, and how does that compare to the wonking upside the head of our other?
The other guy. Well, he got stunned and wonked upside the head. So he's.
So Saul should be happy with this.
I think really. So we have Lux Bonteri. Actually, let me flip over to the other thing just so we can kind of review who's all there at this point. Is this it? I think this is it. Yeah, there we go. So we've got Please Don't Kill Me Again. Oh, sorry, Please Don't Hit Me Again. Lux Bonteri. And we've got nobody else is really there except for him and Saw out of these folks. These were not the rebels I was looking for. You guys are the worst and the best. Don't get me wrong. I meant once upon a time. I'm assuming, Mike and Bill, that you're familiar with the. You brought a new friend back from the desert, didn't you, Benny? Like the mummy quote.
Yeah.
It became something of a thing, basically, for the thing that you said to somebody if they sort of went wandering off in the dungeon and came back with a bunch of stuff chasing them. Or if you pulled aggro in an MMO, that was always like hey, guys, I'm going to be bringing a few friends back from the desert. You all should be ready. That was a typical thing. That was a thing we heard more than a few times. All right, so
Can we just make choo-choo noises because here comes the train?
Yeah,
but,
here comes the pain train, guys. Here we go. All right, so this is the camp, and Ghana has kind of laid out the basics and the stuff that I've got in this box here on the side. Everyone can see that, right? The box on the side with the text. I think I gave that the proper properties for you guys to all be able to see that stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right. So you can kind of see where the women and children are being kept, where the men are being kept, where the Imperials seem to be the most active. You're pretty sure that big building in the middle used to be some sort of communal, like long something that's been like repurposed. The roof wasn't probably there initially, so it's all kind of like been slapped in more recently. The most native looking buildings are the ones that are like in this E area here. The rest of the stuff looks like it's been a lot of prefab stuff that's been slapped in by the Imperials. It's all fairly recent. The trenches are definitely recent. Little fence, obviously, all the wire, all the razor wire and whatnot. And you've got the C3 is probably, it looks like gun turrets, but they're automated. There's no people up there. So maybe not that smart, you're hoping? Fingers crossed, question mark. Or they're shot remotely, or who the heck knows. And that's what you kind of know. And I think the last thing I had anybody said at the end there, as this was all laid out, was, well, I think Lux said, maybe I didn't have him say, oh no, because we had that whole, like everybody lost connection right at the last minute. Like everybody just went haywire right there.
Right.
Right. So, once this is all laid out, Lux Montari says, I have a thought about this, a suggestion about this, if anybody wants to hear me. You may not like it, but I'd like you to at least hear what I have to say. And Saw sort of mutters from where he's leaned up against a tree, like something. It's kind of hard to tell because he's still kind of slurring, but it sounds like I'll bet. I will point out that there's a bit of a risk here in that you've got 20 people who are all basically armed, and their loyalty to Saw is unknown. I mean, they've been with you guys for a little while, but they were with Saw for a lot longer, so it's kind of, this whole situation's a little bit dodgy.
Dad are fighting again.
What's that? Oh,
Mom and Dad are fighting again.
Mom and Dad are fighting again. Yeah, sure. So yeah, I'm trying to think of, well, I don't want to go, you guys might want to do a assess the situation kind of thing to see if you can figure out how exactly fraught the situation is. But anyway, Lux has thoughts. Probably Saw has thoughts. You guys may have thoughts. What do you guys, Lux says, I have some things I'd like to propose if any of you are willing.
Let's hear what Lux has to say first. Yeah.
Sure. Go ahead.
This is going to sound a bit odd, but I think this is an amazing opportunity, perhaps bigger than you even realize, for the rebellion, and really to a greater degree a huge opportunity to set back the Emperor, which seems like a great deal to lay on a simple prisoner camp, but and I meant to mention one other thing, Dave. There weren't a lot of Onderonians here.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking about it, when you're reconstructing and stuff, people ask you questions like, did you see my uncle? Or you're thinking about that kind of stuff. There's a lot of not locals in this camp. Like a lot. Like the preponderance of them are not from here in this particular camp. And that's the thing you didn't really notice at the time because it was sort of just crazy. And you're sort of, projecting a lot of your own thoughts about the
When
various?
you say not locals, do you mean not from the city, or not kind of from the outskirts out here in the jungle, or
not
but
Onderonian.
not Onderonian?
Not Onderonian, and in many cases, not even human. That's not a majority by any stretch, but there was some Twi'leks, there was some Bothans, there was some Ithorian. There was at least one Ithorian that you saw.
And then the other thing about this is
Well, she really was out of it if she didn't notice that. But
well, it's not that she didn't notice it; she just didn't really process it. You know what I mean?
you're a bit overwhelmed.
Yeah, well, yeah, you were.
Yeah.
There's a certain amount of just being in shock, and you were channeling Force stuff at the time, and all kinds of weirdness going on there. But yeah, the more you think back on it, it's like you in your mind, you're sort of seeing what you expect to see, which is to say, you're expecting to see an Onderonian prison camp, where there wasn't supposed to be one, and a lot of bad things happening, and and to be fair, a lot of the bad things happening tended to be towards people, humans, and probably Underonians, at least in the feudal bit. But when you're like replaying, it's like there's a lot. Why would there be? It's just.
Well, and this is all hidden to the governor, right? I mean,
well, we know that it was being operated by fleet personnel.
Right. Yes, it was operated by fleet. It was at least manned by fleet personnel. Although, as you guys are piecing together sort of the stuff that's happened over the last couple of days, there does seem to be some sort of connection at some sort of imperial network level.
Because of the power outage.
Well, the comms outage that
right.
Alir affected in the palace area ricocheted out to here, or it was the weirdest coincidence you've ever encountered.
Yep.
But if that's true, there's an opportunity there certainly that you guys might be able to leverage, because functionally speaking, Alir is still kind of in that system, or at least she can get back into there if she can get into the system at all. So there's some you can do some damage there. Lux continues. I don't want to seem cold-blooded, because I'm not about this, but looking at things, the Senate has been working tirelessly to restrict the powers that the emperor has taken on to himself, or curtail them. It may not always seem like it, but at this point, the empire is still a rule of law. And what you're telling me here, what we are seeing here, is not only illegal, not only a war crime, but in fact has been denied a number of times by the emperor. So, and we have part of the reason that Dave, and we're going to, I don't know if we need to retcon any of this. I don't think we necessarily do. I think some of the stuff is here. Some of the reason that Droid was able to, slight recon. So the reason that the Droid was able to reconstruct the buildings is because of the footage from your helmet cam. Okay? Which I can't remember if you ditched, but you kept because you're a tech nerd. So we're just going to hand wave and say it. If nothing else, you ripped the SD card out of the inside of it or whatever.
Sure, of course I would.
It's in the replaying of that thing that the droid's doing that people are like, holy crap, there's a lot of non-humans there. And you kind of blink and look at the footage and you're like, well, shit. So that's when it kind of, seeing it secondhand is different than when you were first looking at it. And that's when you kind of notice or sort of see what everybody else is seeing, which is that there's a lot of like people who are definitely not from around here, which is to say this planet in the footage and stuff. This footage and this proof is what we need to launch an investigation. We can do it by surprise. We can land ships and immediately come in here with and acquire the proof that we need. In fact, if we simply recon this base to acquire more footage at a distance, that alone will be the proof that we need. I can take that back to the Senate and present it before the full Senate, and we can set the emperor back on his heels and possibly hamstring his military operations outside of the core for years. He may never regain the military strength and not the military strength, but the influence and power that he now wields, because by presenting this to the Senate, he's still beholden to the Senate. It's just the Senate cannot be organized. It cannot be unified against him. When it looks like there is, he finds ways of dividing. He finds ways of, and people won't agree. He finds ways of keeping us from gaining the strength that we need. There are too many races represented here that affected for that division to occur. This, if I can take this back, and then the investigation that would follow to this camp would cripple him. But
I got a question.
But that, well, okay. Before he says that part, then you say you have a question. Go ahead.
Well, if he'll put other people in some illegal military prison camp, why wouldn't he do the same to you?
Right now,
Or a dagger in your back.
well, that's always going to be a risk. The trick there is to get this out public before he realizes that we even had it. Right now, nobody knows that we know this. I can bring it before the Senate. I was sent here by the Senate. They expect me to learn nothing. They expect me at this point in time to come back with a lump on my head, looking somewhat sheepish, fire my bodyguard, I didn't want in the first place, who was basically supposed to be my keeper, and find nothing. I can come back and report that, come back and call a Senate thing where they expect me to report nothing and report this. We still have the Army still nominally and legitimately reports to us. We have the legal power to, if we act together, to stop the emperor. It hasn't happened often. It doesn't happen on anything that I think he probably considers important, but it does happen less and less. But this could be the catalyst that brings it all together.
But in the meantime, there are all these people here who are being used at hard labor and being abused and mistreated. I mean, what you're talking about could take weeks, if not longer.
If not longer. And in order for this to work, in order for this to have this impact, and I'm telling you that I believe with every fiber of my being that this will have a major impact. Until that happens, we would need to leave them here. We can't let them know that we know. We can't. They need to stay in this camp so that we can find this camp officially.
Okay, so we know that plan won't work. What else you got?
Saw's response to this, of course, is, and you're saying, Bill said, I want to make sure that that's backup saying that, so that
That's backup saying that.
Okay. But won't it? I mean, the Senate has power. The Senate has the ability to do this. The Senate, and
I'm sorry. When has the Senate actually done anything? I mean, really? Isn't it like how
there
we
are some
this
very
place?
brave people in the Senate, and I mean, give them credit.
the Republic.
But what have they accomplished?
The Republic Senate has accomplished things for literally hundreds, if not thousands of years. We ceded a great deal of that control due to our lack of ability to work together to the chancellor, and who then made himself, emperor. But that ability, if we can simply unify, is still ours, granted, and it can be ours again simply by unifying. All the powers that he exercises actually make us more powerful. We can simply unify long enough to grasp them, because they are technically the way the laws that he's using every single day say implicitly and explicitly they are our powers. And the more he expands them, the more power we would have if we could simply step in and take them back.
So we're not listening to the used speeder salesman, are we?
Definitely not singing my song.
But Saw is like, Saw, although I will say, is not making any great speeches at this point in time because, again, blasters to the head.
I'm easing off on that long enough so he can talk. I want to hear what he has to say, and I got a proposal for Lux as well, but I want to see where this goes first.
Spoken like a true imperial lackey as he's pushing himself up. You've betrayed this planet. You've betrayed its people. You're betraying the rebellion. We have the opportunity of striking a blow against the Empire, rescuing hundreds of people that, if this is right, have been collected from a dozen different planets, if not more than that, probably because they're acting against the Emperor, the Empire, that could then be made allies to rebellion and make the rebellion something that's actually effective as opposed to whatever it is now. I mean, if we do this, we probably lose Onderon because the hammer that comes down, the patrols that come down on this planet would make it impossible to operate. I'm saying this knowing that, but doing this will give us allies that we would never have. And the idea that the Senate is able to do anything anymore, that the rule of law has any kind of sway anymore, at this point is pathetic. That's Saw. And he kind of spits. He's not going to take a swing at Lux because right now you see backup that he's still keeping a very, very firm hold on the tree that he's standing in front of with one hand.
Get it? He doesn't know which Lux to punch.
He's not. Yeah, exactly. He's not 100%. Well, I'm just going to stop the sentence right there. He's not 100% at this point. Period. So.
Well, Senator Bonterry, let me ask you a question. Would your allies in the Senate mount a rescue mission for you if you were in that camp?
I would hope that they would have the sense to take advantage of my situation and leverage it against the Emperor. And if that means that I am in the camp, if it means I'm tortured, if it means that I suffer, if it means that I die, but they're able to strike a palpable, he's not going to say palpable blow because that's too easy, to strike a significant, perhaps permanent blow against the Emperor, I would hope that they would have the sense to take that opportunity.
So I may be, not political here, but explain to me why we can't do both. I mean, if we're rescuing these people, we have hundreds of witnesses as to what was actually going on, plus our own recognizance and documentation of the camp.
Yeah.
Why do we wait 2 weeks for the Senate to get their shit together and come and do what?
The video proof is enough to make the Senate act. They need to see these people. Basically, we need to surprise this camp by dropping in on them with Senate bill with Senate dispatches. One person is not enough. Certainly, one senator of Onderon is not enough. And we have no other official eyes on the ground that
you have hundreds of eyes right there in the camp that can testify as to what's happened here.
But none of these are. I mean, this could all be fabricated. Unfortunately, that's been attempted in the past.
And senators are trustworthy? I'm sorry. I'm having difficulty, understanding why a senator's word would be more valuable than somebody who's actually been experiencing this camp.
I absolutely understand why you're saying that, and I honestly agree with you. And Saw snorts at that. The question isn't whether or not senators are trustworthy. The question is whether or not senators trust other senators. It isn't about whether or not they would trust these people. It's whether or not they've seen it with their own eyes. They're only going to believe what they will act based on the video, based on the video evidence, based on the helmet data, based on any reconnaissance we're able to do. They will act but they won't vote until they can drop in and see this. In other words, they need to. That's what they need. They're gonna. This is enough to get people who would never normally agree to this to come.
So why would they actually risk coming here? I mean, really, who of the Senate has balls to come out here?
Oh, there's many. And honestly, even those who are allied with Palpatine would, in order to save face for the rule of there are many that work with Palpatine that aren't necessarily working with Palpatine because they agree with him, but because he's actually following all of the rules. And they are very much, they believe that they still see themselves as being in the Republic and following those Republic rules. And Palpatine is so good at manipulating those, less reluctantly than he did in the past, but certainly manipulating those, that they still feel themselves on the right side of history. If they see an affront of this nature, they will act. It won't be everyone, but it will be a majority. It will be enough to wrest control away. I like that. Do we shoot him yet? No shooting your allies. I don't see your point. How does this apply? No, bad Hesmet. Smack. I see Hesmet keeps like sort of slowly raising his gun, and then Alir reaches out and like taps on his wrist and like, no.
Where's the squirt ball when you need it?
I got a feeling it's not so much no as not yet.
Yeah. I mean, I realize this is not an argument that is going to make me popular, so at least respect the fact that I'm willing to make it, despite the fact that there's over 24 people here who would happily shoot me for making it. I believe this. This will work.
Well, I do think that you believe it, but I'm just worried what could happen to these people in the meantime, especially if there's something going on between the Admiral and the Moff, then all of the people here could be in danger if the Moff were to strike at this camp, or the Admiral felt the need to pull his forces back. They're not going to just leave these people behind. I think we need to get them out of here now before they get wrapped up in any other danger.
I don't know if you expect me to argue with any of that, Ghana. I'm not going to. Those are all absolutely valid and true risks. The question is whether or not the risk is worth, because we could acquire, at a rough guess, 100 allies, 100 allies, perhaps 20% of which, more likely 10% of which, will be influential enough in their homes to earn the Republic serious support. That could happen. Or we could wrest unmitigated control of the entire Imperial military away from the Emperor. There could be oversight committees. We could wrap him up in so much oversight and red tape that he would never be able to function, act freely for decades. He would die in office still wrapped in red tape.
Okay, so say that we do this. You have all these grand hopes. What is the worst that happens?
The worst that happens is I go. Nobody listens. Let's back away. Let's assume that I go and nobody listens. I'm telling you that that's not going to happen.
And
you can believe me or not, but that would be the worst. The next worst scenario would be that word leaks out of what's happened, or they're prepared enough for this that by the time we get eyes on the ground, the camp is gone and there's no proof of it.
And all these people are dead.
Yes, that is the risk. And if you think that I wouldn't lose sleep even pondering that, if you think that I'm going to rest well between now and when this is resolved, I'm telling you that that's not the case. I am aware of how risky this is. I would not propose it if I did not believe that it was possible. That this is a terribly risky thing. I absolutely believe that. And I will, in fact, well, I'll get back to that in a moment. I absolutely understand your reaction to it, and I understand the risk involved. I don't disagree with anything that any of you have said about the potential risk. None of it. And if you decide not to act on that, I will understand. I believe in the Republic. I believe in democracy. And if you all decide that that'll be a different thing, I will help in whatever way possible. Saw may not like me, but I'm fairly certain he will concede that I can shoot a blaster if I need to. And if that's what I'm called upon to do, then that's what I will do. But I would not, in the same way that I will not sleep until I know if this risk would pay off, I could not sleep if I did not at least attempt to propose this idea.
Well, I think if it was just us, then we might be willing and able to make that decision. But I don't think we can make that decision for the prisoners here to take that risk without their consent. If we do that, then we're no better than the Empire.
Oh, I mean, let's not paint ourselves with too harsh a brush. The Empire wouldn't consider the feelings of others in the first place. We are at least doing that. And if we make a sacrifice, or we make a risk,
if we're willing to put other people's lives at risk without their say-so to meet some greater need that we think is more important,
then you are
Hearing that, the clone trooper is just going to stand silently and listen.
and Lux will walk on that last line. If we're willing to, make these decisions without somebody's consent in order to go blah blah blah, then at that point you are ready to become a senator, because that is what we're called upon to do. The galaxy is a vast place. The Empire and the Republic before it is hundreds, if not thousands of worlds, and communication takes time. Decisions have to be made on the behalf of people with whom we are not able to refer or directly communicate constantly. And it is terrifying. And we get it wrong. And we have to hope that we get it right more often than we don't. And we have to trust in the rule of law. Even if it seems as though the worst possible result has occurred, which I will concede is exactly how it looks right now, and I wouldn't necessarily even argue with it. The question is, do we trust that system in the hopes that it will, in my personal belief, that it will be enough to recover control of our republic, or do we go the route of the rebellion, the direct route of the rebellion? I am not in command. I was brought in to consult. I am not in any way, shape, or form. I hardly need to tell anyone, he says, rubbing the lump on the side of his head, that I'm not the one in charge here. I'm simply pointing out a point of view that some of you may not be immediately aware of. In other words, I'm not going to tell you that you have to do this. Anyway, so yeah. Saw can argue too if you want, but you guys are all making most of his arguments anyway, so I don't necessarily feel that, or Hesman, who's just like, can we just stun this guy or shoot him and go rescue these people?
Yeah, see, Hesman was out of the conversation as soon as his argument was, and then we let them sit there.
Yeah.
Now, screw that.
Well, I personally, my expectation was that Hesman would tune out roughly along the lines, roughly about the same spot as like, let's not immediately shoot all of the stormtroopers and blow up their camp. Like, rescuing the people actually almost ancillary to the idea of taking a fight directly to the stormtroopers. And
that is merely a fringe benefit of the greater goal,
which is, rescuing the people. Does it matter that much, out of just curiosity, does it matter that much to Hesmet that they're not Onderonian? Or is it just that they're prisoners? I mean, having been in a prisoner camp, I don't know that it would really matter that much. I'm curious. I don't know.
It's all under the Empire's boot. It doesn't matter who's getting stomped.
That's fair. So yeah, I mean that's Lux's basic thing is like the system is still in place. We can make the system work for us if we pull off some major kung fu, or you know they
Yeah, these are
obviously need these people for something, or they would have killed them all already. So if that's important to them, then we have that other benefit as well. But that maybe
Maybe they're hostages.
they could easily be hostage. In fact, the odds are even good that they are. I don't recognize any of the faces, but I would wager if we had the time to do so and could compare some of the faces. Certainly some of the people in the camp are hostages just on the good behavior of some of the other people in the camp, but it's possible the whole groups are hostages for people elsewhere. Imagine if we could do facial recognition, we might even be able to identify a few of them. I don't know any of them off the top of my head.
What if they're hostages for senators in the Senate?
I wish this is one of those moments where I really wish that we were able to make the camera work because Lux's response works so much better if you can just see my face doing Lux's response. That is certainly a possibility. That hadn't occurred to me.
And if that were the case, then if you went back to the Senate and said, hey, I found this camp, let's all join together and free it, how many of those people would be like, no, we're not going to do that because who knows what's going to happen to our people? That even assumes that we can get like a senatorial investigation in here past the admiral before something bad happens.
Well, the admiral's not going to shoot at a senatorial like a diplomatic.
No, but he could say the planet is under interdict for some reason or
Quarantine.
something. Quarantine. He could do it long enough to.
He probably wouldn't if he didn't know what was happening, and we could act quickly enough to do that.
But how does he not have spies in the Senate? I mean, how do you set this up without him hearing about it?
This isn't Lux. This isn't Lux. This is me like communicating this. There's a certain limitation on the speed of communication that communication isn't effectively any faster than the ships. You can literally you can literally, if not outrun the communication, at least pace it. So,
right, but as soon as he gets back to the Senate and tries to start bringing together people to do this, the message goes out.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't something that's just being done by the Moth.
No, it's not just something being done by them. It's being done by the military, which makes it the more.
Not just being done by this one person. He didn't just get this brilliant idea and do it. He's taking orders from somebody.
Which is, to a certain extent, Lux's point. I mean, it would be impossible for anyone to claim innocence in this up the command chain, which means, I mean, this admiral by himself is not randomly jailing hundreds of people from dozens of different worlds. This is happening throughout the military, and that leads at this point, because of the way things are set up, directly back to the emperor, blah, blah, blah.
Right. But my point is that what makes you think that you can go back to the Senate and not have the emperor immediately know what you're doing? I mean, isn't that rather naive?
I understand.
He probably knows every time you take a shit.
I understand what you're saying. My point here is that at the time that he finds out, he won't be able to act any faster than we do because the act itself will be so unexpected.
All it takes for the military to do is have one missile go awry and destroy the entire camp and all of the evidence. That takes.
Well, they don't have the firepower to destroy something as large as that camp with one shot.
Really?
I object to the idea of it being one missile. I mean, nothing has that kind of.
Really, you don't think that they could actually destroy, that entire camp?
I'm not saying
in less than 10 minutes.
No, I'm not saying they can't destroy the camp. I'm saying I'm just let's not exaggerate by saying that one single shot could destroy something of that size. let's not exaggerate the Empire's power. They're already powerful enough. Which I just have to put in there as Lex's commentary due to the huge irony of it that we're all self-aware of. I think we've all seen Rogue One by this point in time, so we know.
No. Even in character, we can make this happen. It's like Hesmet. How many kyber crystals did we see?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Kyber, and that's Lux's thing is like kyber crystals. What are you talking about?
At least 4 really big ones.
They blew up.
Does the Empire not have nuclear
Big boom.
nuclear power?
We have never seen a nuke in Star Wars, so we're just going to assume it's all done with lasers and concussion missiles. I'm just saying, there's no nukes.
Tablet.
What's that?
Hesmet blew up my tablet.
Well, okay. To be fair, that
Not
doesn't.
that we are bitter.
Hesmet blew up my tablet is not actually a solid argument for the Empire possessing planet-destroying capability.
No, but the kyber crystals.
Technically, it wasn't the kyber crystals. It was the thing channeling power to the kyber crystals that blew up. But yeah, or channeling power away. One of the two.
We had clearly established that there was enough firepower under there to blow up the city of Aziz. If one prison camp is not going to be that. Not going to need that.
And to be fair, Lux was not aware of the kyber crystals thing. And when Lux says that, Saw says yes, kyber crystals. And I think you've probably seen enough intel coming through Republic channels, if you are connected to the Republic, to know what that means. And Lux is like, as I said before, if your decision is to free the camp or make every effort to free the camp and get these people away, and you are successful, that will have a benefit to the Republic or to the rebellion. I am not saying that it won't. I am simply pointing out the potential for an even greater blow to be struck. It is risky. It is riskier. I will even say it's riskier. The potential is there, and if I'm brutally honest, the idea of doing something that effective and that potentially damaging to the Emperor through legal channels is appealing to me as a senator who has struggled to find ways to be effective in recent years. And
well, Senator, I think you have completely do not understand the risk of your plan, which is, you found out about my atrocity. Let's all
make it a bigger atrocity.
And instead, what will probably really happen is, you found out about my atrocity. Let's commit a bigger one.
I can understand why someone who's not in Coruscant thinks that he has that level of, wave his hand and make things happen influence. I absolutely understand that. It's not to that point yet. It is not
yet.
Well, okay, it's hard.
Really, because it sure seems like it.
It's hard for me to parse this between GM. Like I'm saying yet because I know how bad it's going to get.
Okay, if it's not Lux saying that, I withdraw that.
No, yeah, it's not. That's why I'm just saying.
Admission for a moment.
It's not to that point. It's not to that point. And I'll admit it may seem like that. It may even in some cases be that way on the outer rim or even in the mid rim where it's further away from the core and the rule of law is more tenuous. He does not have absolute authoritarian rule over the capital and the people who have the ability to stand against him. The main problem, the reason it seems as though that's the case, is because no one stands against him. No one can organize enough to have the political strength to stand against him. I will admit that I am occasionally putting in comments that could be read multiple different ways. The irony lies thick. Same thing with him his whole thing. Like, well, the Empire doesn't have the ability to destroy a large swath of land with one shot. I mean, come on, that's ridiculous. Nobody has that kind of firepower. It would take the entire Imperial fleet to blow up a planet like Alderaan. Or no, I'm sorry. The actual line is the entire Imperial fleet couldn't do that kind of damage. So
Aldergon.
Too soon.
looking for love in Alderaan places.
So,
Anyway, so I mean, he, as he said, he understands all of your arguments. He's simply making the argument for let's do things like civilized people. And I will say, in respect to his diplomacy, did not actually say it that way. Let's do this like civilized people. He's simply putting that option out there, but he will completely understand if people choose not to do that. So, what do you guys
well,
think?
I think, I have a lot of love for the rebellion and fighting back against evil, but if we can't do that when it's right in front of us, then I don't think we're doing the right thing. So I say we need to do something now.
I have to agree. I just, knowing the ability that we've seen so far of destruction and the willingness that the Emperor seems to have in disregarding all human rights in a broad sense. all person rights.
Yeah, the rights of sentient beings everywhere.
I just can't see how we can, if we have a chance of making this work and getting those people off world, because that's going to be a key, I don't see how we can't take that right now and hope that the information we collect is enough to sway the minds.
Lux just not. I mean, he just nods. He's not gonna. He's said his piece. Saw surprisingly does have. I wasn't wrong. I wasn't exaggerating when I said what I said earlier. If we do this, this planet is done. The Empire will come down. If you think the Empire is here in force now, no one will be able to breathe on this planet when it's done. We'll be done here. We've already. I mean, this planet will.
In that case, then we're not the ones that should be making this decision in a vacuum.
It also means that the people of Onderon suffer more because of the increased Empire influence.
Yeah.
To which Lux will add, there are a few hundred people in the camp.
But Lux, do you really see that not impacting, even if we wait and the Senate, exposes this? Do you not see the Emperor as getting his petty revenge on the planet anyways?
However, once it's possible that once the Senate's eye is drawn towards Onderon, he won't be able to get away with as much.
The idea. oh, Catherine, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Very well. Saw's argument, Lux this point is out. Regardless of what we do, you will never find me defending the Emperor's ability to enact petty revenge. I'm simply not wired for it. I've seen too much in that regard. Even if we are absolutely successful, with my suggestion, something of that nature could happen. But again, as you say, if they're watching, he's limited, and that's the whole point of this. Really, is that he would be limited in everything, including his ability to enact petty retribution against people who have nothing to do with this. On the other hand, anything that we do here at this point in time, the more effective that you are in this your other plan, the greater the retribution that will be visited back on this planet. Saw is right. This planet will be lost. There will be there's no freedom that this planet will see on the other side, until the other side of some vast galactic war. Perhaps not even then. That seems to be the Onderonian lot, and has been for
You're on mute, dear.
100 years.
So I'm sorry, you're saying that we need to bring the Senate in so that they can then pressure the Emperor to be more responsible, and then you're saying that this is not going to end until there's some huge galactic
No,
war.
what-
Which is it?
He's what he was. I switched there in the middle. If his plan works properly, the Emperor would be restricted in many things, including the ability for petty revenge. If your plan works perfectly, Onderon is screwed. So there is that to also, and Saw's not even arguing that point. He was the first one to make it. So there's also that. But sometimes the without knowing more, there's no way of saying what kind of impact any of these people out of the camp would have.
Well, the hell of an impact on them.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But again, it's the needs of the few versus the needs of the many, and we're entering these people suffering, but then Onderon's basically going to be living, in a police state for the foreseeable future. If you want to be completely cold-bloodedly tactical about it and back up, I would be remiss if not to say that this doesn't occur to you. The more people that they have to drop on Onderon to enforce the law, the fewer forces they put someplace else. So at least Onderon is tying up a couple of dozen, half dozen battalions, keeping order throughout the planet for the next, for the foreseeable future. I don't know that you'd necessarily say that, but
Definitely think it.
yeah, oh yeah, hell yeah. I mean, if they've got to sit here and maintain order on an unruly planet, then that they're not someplace else shooting some other people. So, Onderon becomes a bit of a aggro draw, meat shield, whatever you want to call it. If it were an easy decision,
That's basically condemning Onderons to
Onderon
a
has
life of torment.
And Saw actually sort of chuckles that. Have you not been paying attention? We've been suffering like this since the beginning of the Clone Wars. This is what Onderon is.
This ain't new.
What's that?
I said, this ain't new.
No, yeah, has been, and there's murmurs of that around from the other Onderonians. So there's a certain amount of, I don't know, fatalism isn't. Well, no. Yeah, actually, fatalism may be the right word there. Saw, and I don't think I'm surprising anyone by saying this, Saw is the kind of person who's like, you know what, we do this, we burn them. He has no faith in the Senate plan. Saw has no faith in the Senate plan whatsoever because he has no faith in Lux. The Senate and that whole idea of the rule of law has never worked. He doesn't particularly have much faith in the rebellion. We're all ignoring, this is him, we're all ignoring the obvious thing, which is that regardless of what we do, what we're talking about is the worst case scenario for Onderon is probably going to happen within the next few months anyway. I mean, they're bringing in more ships, they're bringing in a stronger fleet presence, and if Ghana's right, they've got AT-ATs, they're dropping down major troop transports and firepower when there's no real military presence here. We are the military presence, and there's 100 of us around the planet total, and this is what they're bringing to bear. We're doomed. This planet is, Onderon is lost. We just haven't gotten the memo yet. So we do as much damage as we can, and then we get out. And if we come back in 20 years and have to rebuild everything, then that's what we'll do because we've done it 5 other times in the last 100 years. So yeah, he's Saw is basically writing off his entire people for one last blow against the Empire, and then get out of it, and then blow this pop stand. You got to make a decision though now, people, because I have got 4 episodes to get to it in Star Wars Rebels season 3, and the clock is ticking. I've got maybe 2 weeks, and I need to be there and be bitter. So we need to figure out what I'm bitter. We need to specifically figure out what I'm bitter about when I get there. I'm kidding. Yeah, obviously I'm kidding. But if you think your GM isn't aware of that, he totally is.
Ghana is looking less certain at the moment.
If this were easy, guys.
Well, yeah.
I wouldn't have like figured. I wouldn't have spent like over 2 hours diagramming both of their arguments.
No. I mean, I'm not saying that it should be easy. I'm just saying that Ghana is now, after having spoken so eloquently about not acting, not acting on behalf of others without their consent, is now thinking about the impact to the rest of Onderon in taking this action.
The irony of the whole
despite what Saw is saying about, they're probably going to crack down on Onderon anyway.
Right.
Which, there's certainly enough evidence of that because they attacked the base.
Yeah.
They, I know that there's AT-ATs in the big shed over there.
Given the expression that's probably playing across Ghana's face, Saw says, if it makes you feel any better, think of it as saving 300 people from what they're all going to be suffering from in less than a month. At least we can rescue those.
Yeah, that's not making me feel any better, Saw.
I didn't say I was good at offering comfort. I mean, what's funny about it is that like 2 of the best arguments you've kind of had against like the raid that Lux didn't even occur to Lux. Like you guys pointed out. I hadn't even thought about. I mean, Lux had not even thought about the blowback on the planet. He didn't really think about. He thought about it, but not in the terms of like using it as an argument. But yeah, the blowback on the planet is going to be huge. But as far as Saw is concerned, that writing is on the wall. Backup's been kind of saying. I mean, I should say more accurately, probably Bill has been saying the same thing for a while now. It's like, the time that we have with Whisper Station and by extension, probably the planet in general is probably pretty limited. And Saw is taking that to the next logical conclusion is that there's going to be just like the hammer's going to come down on this. The more that we do, the more likelihood. I mean, the very fact that you guys are active here and have had any kind of success at all is part of the reason that this is happening to a certain extent.
However, if we did manage to succeed in the senatorial idea, then the emperor would be less able
to enact all of his whatever it is that he's working on. Any
raid at Onderon.
The Onderon,
because they don't have control of the military or as much control.
And Saw kind of smiles at that. Like kind of like leans back a little bit. It's like looking up at the canopy a little bit and smiles. He goes, yes, probably. Assuming that any of that actually happened, we would be able to acquire the dignity of a noble funeral for this corpse. But that is all we are fighting for at this time. The idea that we're going to rescue somebody, that we're going to get something that's salvageable anytime in the near future, in the actual future, is optimistic. And he says the word optimistic the way other people might say, ridiculous, ludicrous. The word optimistic means the same thing to him. So that's, yes, we could protect Onderon. Onderon's, they're not going to suddenly pull out of here, But what Lux is saying is that it would hinder things. He goes, there's every possibility that this would push back any plans that he has for any major military operations by years, if anything. And that would give us the time to then, once we have that foothold, leverage even more of his control away until we could do away with the emperorship altogether. I mean, he would have to disband the Senate to take that kind of power away. I mean, come on, what's the odds of that? Anyway.
Next thing you know, he's going to be running around, arresting ambassadors and.
Yeah, I mean.
And wearing a creepy black cloak.
Ambassadors and arresting, like part of the Imperial Senate and, accusing them of being an imperial rebellion spy. It's crazy talk. It's crazy talk.
What,
Anyway.
you think it's for lightning for his hands or something? Jeez.
Anyway, so yeah, I mean, yeah, Ghana's looking less sure. Catherine, or not Catherine, but Alir is looking.
I am the senatorial idea, which
Solution.
sounds horrible when you're looking at all those people down in the camp, but the consequences and the benefits, I feel, outweigh that.
So, no, we have people playing calculus with other people's lives.
Well, we're kind of doing that no matter what we do.
Now you're them.
And that is pure Hesmet. And to be fair, I mean, entirely understandable, given what Hesmet's gone through.
See, I'm on the side of rescue what we can rescue now, because I have, zero faith in the ability of the Senate to influence the emperor, and 100% certainty that the greater atrocity will occur if there's any hint of this being exposed. So
just for the record,
I vote against trust.
I vote against being afraid. And I think this will probably be a point that Hesman makes to Lux. It's like, you guys were afraid, and you gave him power. Now you're afraid now about what will happen if we free these people. The line must be drawn here.
That is
this far, no further.
That is good. I won't lie. That's good. That's and you're not wrong at all. I mean, the whole everything the Emperor accomplished, he accomplished by leveraging fear. Because, Sith. But still, good. I mean, honestly, I have to hand it to Hesmet for having more insight to how the Emperor managed all this stuff than the entire freaking Jedi Council did. Well done, random dude on Jungle Planet.
Now, I'm curious about something else. They'd only do this terrible military response, dooming Onderon, if we attacked the camp militarily, right?
I mean, that would offer. I mean, are you asking?
What if we made it look like the Moth did it?
Oh shit!
I think then they would probably come in even harder against Onderon.
Well, they would come. That would. But...
No, they would come down more on the Moth because
God.
it wouldn't look like the rebellion did it, and thus that way.
But they'd replace him with someone more directly in their control, who would probably be a less benign of a tyrant.
But the odds. The point being, the odds of there being a snapback against the actual Onderon. I mean, the planet itself is probably. It's not a planet. I mean, let's back up for a second. Logistically speaking, you guys were never here to free Onderon. Onderon is in the inner rim. It's got like 4 major highways basically leading into it of Imperial strength. It's a hop, skip, and a jump away from Coruscant. The odds of you guys freeing Onderon until the war is over, until the Emperor is cast down, are basically nil. That's just never going to happen. The question becomes...
You're right. It never is going to happen.
Well, I'm just saying...
Lux, I got a question for Lux.
Well, no, let me finish this thought before I lose it. So the question isn't can we free Onderon? The question is, if you can do this in such a way, which I have to hand it to Alir because this honestly hadn't occurred to the GM, but I mean, if you can make it in such a way that they're not snapping down on the people of Onderon as a, well, the rebellion could be anywhere, so it could be any of you, so we're just going to treat all of you horribly. And it can be, and the narrative is clearly, we have traitors within our own midst, and that becomes this internecine, I'm going to mispronounce that, internecine brawl, fabricated, even if it's fabricated, Onderon will still not be free. That's a given. But the people won't necessarily suffer any more than they would today. And as you've been able to observe,
free is a continuum here.
Yeah. The planet is functioning, and it would probably continue to function this way. More likely, Moffs would, the concept of Imperial Moffs would probably take a hit for, I'm going to say 2 more years before they, I'm just saying that would probably be, the Admiralty would end up, having a lot of sway. You'd see a lot more like sort of, military kind of stuff. But Backup was going to ask something of Lux.
Well, Joyce, I don't know if you read the thread that we were posting on. I'll just reread for the benefit of the group then. Backup was pretty sure the jig was up for the Moff. The rumors of a coup sort of cemented that, and this was what we were talking about, where the Admiral was rolling in on Whisper Base. But I said there may be ways for us to leverage the Moff's own troops, soldiers, and allies, like convincing them, a detachment of them, that a VIP is being held in that very camp, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And advance the possibility maybe there actually is a VIP that the Moff considers valuable being held in there to ensure his compliance. And there's any number of ways that we can make this sort of thing work.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way of knowing necessarily, not unless you actually do some scanning and like facial recognition. And who's to say if Ghana saw everybody or even most of the people that are there? Probably not. But
even if we had to kidnap someone ourselves and smuggle them into the camp,
or just convince them that they're in the camp.
Yeah. So then the question for Lux is, let's say that the Moff gets overthrown by the Admiral. Let's say the Corlin shows up and says, hey, it's over, and Dardano is led away in shackles and chains and whatever.
It certainly seems to be that the Admiral is definitely putting his pieces into place and taking a few, like, things like Whisper Base are the sorts of things where you can take it and the guy may not know. So he's like sort of like working flanking maneuvers right now, and before he actually sort of pulls the trigger. It appears.
Yeah, but I mean, there will be some point where Dardano is probably out.
Yes.
That's really the way to win. So let me finish the thought.
No, if you make him the scapegoat, then yeah, to your point. But you keep going. Yeah.
Okay. The rest of the thought is they're probably going to put someone else like him into authority, not necessarily, like someone of his personality, but someone who does like the civilian administration stuff.
Right. Or they could put if the Admiralty is making the move, it could just as easily be, well, here's one. It could be this dude.
Yeah. So the question is, does the Senate have some say in that, necessarily to select a guy, but to say something like, well, clearly there was corruption. We need to send a special investigation unit along who's going to need access to all the Moff's records.
Yes.
And at that point, do we just leave behind everything that we have learned on this planet for the Senate to find in the normal course of their investigation? No surprise necessary. No, sneak raids, no like 2 weeks of prisoners languishing, just
let the Senate. So the move then becomes getting the Senate to put somebody in place who can actually find out this stuff and other stuff.
Yeah.
And that would be Lux's job.
Well.
Whether he pulls the mask off and says it's Old Man Henderson.
It could even, it could
personally or not.
It could end up, honestly, they could end up putting Lux in charge.
Everyone looks at Lux.
except for Saw.
I think that's the worst outcome possible there.
Except for Saw, who says if that does happen, he says to I guess Akana, if that does happen, I really do need to get off the planet as soon as possible. You know.
You don't hear Backup complaining about that. He's just like, yeah.
I mean that's all a chain of events that you guys don't really have a lot of influence over. But the argument is, I mean, if you can manage to lay this on the governor, I mean, I suppose you could even, if your plan is we're going to go to the governor and say, work with us and we'll do what we can to get you out of here because you're screwed. God, you could even try and flip them off. That'd be hilarious.
I like to think that he knows which way the wind is blowing himself.
Yeah.
I don't know what his plan is.
He's definitely, I mean, the people that are showing up on the planet, none of them are reassuring. I mean, the senator from Onderon who's been abducted, and then a bunch of military personnel. That's not looking good for the Moff, no matter who he is.
And we have one asset.
And his secret listening post is no longer responding.
Yeah, and actually hasn't been for a while. And
but one other selling point that we have is that, like, literally every other one of his assets that he might try to use to get off world may have some secret loyalty to the Emperor. We assuredly do not.
I wish you guys could see my face, because I'm literally, like, my mouth is working, like my jaw keeps trying to say things, but my brain isn't supplying any fuel. The idea that your move is to flip them off and then make a move on the base and get these people off and then let the Empire basically punch itself over this is, given the two arguments that are presented to you by Saw and Lux, I think the best possible. I mean, you actually found like a way through that's not horrible. It's good. I mean, personally, as me, somebody watching this movie, that I'm just sitting back here munching popcorn, I'm like, yeah, fuck it, go for it. That's awesome. I think there's a tremendous amount of potential there.
I approve of option C.
It's absolutely doable. Subvert them off. He spends the next year being debriefed in probably a mobile base, somewhere. And you guys liberate a bunch of potential allies. And the Empire ends up blaming itself for the whole thing, because the Moff takes his loyal people and works with you guys to screw with the whole thing. And the last assault on the base actually gets coordinated from like Alir sitting inside the palace as she hacks away. Yeah, there's some beautiful stuff going on there. I like it. What do you guys think?
I worry about whether the Moff can pull off an attack here without getting people hurt, but that's going to be a problem for us too.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not the Moff. I mean, the Moff's doesn't have.
We're fingerprinting the Moff.
Yeah,
he's taking the fall.
And well, he's taking the fall and then disappearing. He's probably supplying some loyal troops, but bottom line, you're talking about a couple of platoons worth of forces, Imperial troops, like that are loyal to him. The kind of folks that he was cycling out to Whisper Base.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got fewer of those because you shipped 20 of them off planet.
So we flipped his mistress at one point, and now we're flipping him.
In theory, yeah. And his mistress is still constantly waiting for the phone to ring at 2:00 in the morning. For the comms to beep at 2:00 in the morning with more orders. Has been for the last 18 months. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you could go in there, and if you can make there's one or two things that work in there. You actually flip him, or you just you pretend to flip him and knock him out and leave him in a broom closet until you leave the planet, and then blame him for
Yeah.
everything. Either way.
And I like that because I get the pistol with him in that one.
Yes.
I really always thought that we were just going to use him as a patsy.
Right. I mean, there's a potential there where you could actually like he might actually be so aware of how screwed he is that as soon as you storm into his office or whatever, he's just like, wait. I know who you are and I want to help. Like that's actually a possibility. I'm not saying it's likely, but it's
The
possible.
combat of my safe is taped to the bottom of my blotter. The liquor cabinet is over there.
My password is Pookie Bear Rocks 123. With an X, not KS. It's an X.
That way it's more secure.
It's more secure. My password is Battery Horse Staple Correct. And anyway.
So if
You're
you ask
just
me
working in the
last
references
minute, I didn't
now.
take a call. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. I gotta go deep. It's deep internet right there. I'm more impressed that I remembered that order. Anyway, so Margie's fine with him being a patsy and doesn't really have a lot of faith in flipping him. That's fine because honestly, that's just one of the branches of the. That's just a branch of the plan. That's one of the ways the thing could. That's one of the ways the resolution thing could just branch. It was Backup's idea. Alir, how are you feeling about this?
I like this a lot more than
Everything else.
just going in there and allowing the backlash to happen or just sitting around and waiting. This is a nice way to still rescue the people while hopefully mitigating some of the damage done to the rest.
I think I did miss this. That's really good. I like that. I'm just looking at this link that Backup shared on here.
I think you commented on it.
Well, it's just a while back. I don't know that I. Oh yeah, because this is an older.
All 23 weeks ago.
Yeah, this was a while back. My God, this game's been going on for a while. Just because, I mean, for the record, my plan was we were going to do the thing on Tatooine, and then we were going to see what other game to run. It didn't work out that way. Okay, so.
Yeah, what we figured out was the other game is a confidence game against the Moth.
Yeah, well, the confidence game against the Moth then snowballed into this thing, and now we're back to yet another confidence game, kind of against the whole Empire.
Yeah.
You know,
Or the rebellion, that's what we do.
You know, I was all for rescuing the people in the camp and blaming it on the Moth is just icing on my cake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Ghana, how are you feeling? What are Ghana's thoughts on this whole thing?
Well, aside from the ones I whispered on the page.
Whispered on the. Oh, wait. I didn't see those. Now I did. Ooh. Oh, Ghana. Okay, I have to share this. Did you guys see that, or was that just a me?
Yeah, no, I didn't do a whisper.
Oh,
I did a.
Can the Force help me influence the Moth mind? Is that evil? But it is for the greater good. Yes, always do evil things for the greater good, Dave. There's no way that can turn around on you. There's
For the greater good.
There's no way that can go wrong.
So anyway, Ghana is.
Gotta figure out some way for Ghana.
A lot more optimistic about this plan. And looking speculative.
Honestly, and I almost hesitate to say it because I'm afraid that a vote in favor will sour everyone else towards it. But I actually think this may work. This may work work as well as what I was suggesting in a different way, says Lux. So at the risk of damning it with my own approval or agreement, I'm just afraid to click on Catherine's link. What am I looking at? What are those guys? What is that from?
Hot Fuzz.
Oh, Hot Fuzz. I was going to say it kind of looks like it was.
The greater good.
The greater good. Okay. All right. Okay, so did we just chew up basically the entire night on one debate scene? I think we did, didn't we?
Yep.
Yes.
But it was a,
But
Yep.
but a highly
it was a really good one though.
rewarding one.
I like everybody's input on this. I like everybody's input on this. I love the fact that the guy who claims to never come up with the idea is actually the guy who comes up with the solution plan.
I came up with the idea of blaming it on the moth.
You did, and then
Alira did.
And yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Alir did, who's never the
Yeah.
who's never the plan person. I mean, Backup had stuff in there too, in terms of like, no, this would actually work, and here's the 14 reasons why, which I've illustrated in this.
Backup came up with the idea of what if we don't attack them militarily, and then Alir was like, what if they thought it was the moth?
I would
God.
distinguish Backup from Bill in that planning. Bill came up with the
Oh.
blaming them off,
Yeah,
but I would like
Oh,
to distribute like credit for that to like the individual rebels.
yeah.
Who
It came up
likely would-
honestly. Yeah, it came up so organically. It's actually hard to track it all. But yeah, Alir was like, "What if we blame them off?" And Alir's never the plan person, and now Alir's the plan person, or at least
Yeah.
the idea person.
Character development.
Character development. Okay. Since Dave has an early, I don't even want to do another thing. I want this to be the thing, and I realize, but we had so many technical wrestling early on. I'm going to give ourselves the fact that we even got back on the play after what has it been 3 weeks. I'm going to break my arm patting us on the back for getting that to happen. So we will just pull up here. If you guys spot anything, and I apologize to Hesman in advance because I know you were looking at this going, there's no way I'm not getting like 15 XP from this next session, and now it's probably not any, but it should be a whole bunch next time. I think we have a plan, guys, and we should do it. Speaking of plans, what does next Tuesday look like?
It should be good.
Are we
Should be good.
the highest number of
Yeah.
the highest number of potential conflicts is the hill clear-ups. And if you guys sound good, guys, we'll make it work.
Looking at the schedule, it looks good.
My only thing, in fact, I have